Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Blake.
And this is Prove It, where we talk about our experiences.
And the validity of those experiences will be put to the test.
So it's actually election night tonight. So we are drinking. I've got a We the People Constitution glass here. And the gentleman over to my left have glasses with bullets in them, Second Amendment. So cheers.
Cheers.
As to who's going to win or who we think is going to win. Well, we know who's going to win.
And may our country go in the right direction after this.
Absolutely, absolutely.
No matter who wins, that is.
I will say one quick thing about, I don't like to talk about politics and religion, but I will say one thing that I think is really hurting the election process, and that is now that we have race and gender in the mix. It's been white men for the history of the United States. But now we've had a black president. We've had a female candidate run for presidency. The one thing that I think that's gone wrong is a lot of people are voting strictly based on their race or their gender. They don't understand the platform. They don't follow the platform. And I think that's a big problem. And I think that's also a big problem or the reason why we don't have as many people wanting to run for presidency. It's part of the woke culture, afraid of being out there that are good people that could be presidents or presidential campaign or candidates. They fear it because people will strictly based on their gender or their skin color. And I think that's a big problem, but don't want to get too political again.
We'll see how the results turn out tonight.
Absolutely. Hopefully, we're still in democracy tomorrow, or I guess January 1st. So, little house cleaning thing. The Prove It logo. This is actually a picture of me. I've had a couple of questions about it, and people didn't realize that that's actually a picture of me. I put it into some. I'm not a computer guy. You know this. Yeah, obviously, that's why you have to deal with all this crap because I don't know what I'm doing.
It's all good.
So, obviously, we have a third person in the room.
Yeah, another special guest this week.
Yep, second episode in a row.
Yep.
Don't get used to this because, again, we're balling on a budget with the podcast. Don't even have a third mic. But this is my boy, JT. I call him JT because I met him through his twin brother.
All right.
His twin brother's name is Joel. So this is Joel's twin. Now, granted, JT is a pretty good nickname because the other JT that I always called JT was Justin Timberlake.
Oh, I think that was all of us growing up in the 30s and 2000s.
The ex-wife was in love with him. You know, he got the moves and he's cute and you know, he's got a super hot wife. But anyway, this is JT. He's got a few things going on in his life. One of the cool things is he's actually got dual citizenship.
Okay.
Originally from Canada. His pops played some hockey.
All right.
And then he got citizenship down here. His mom lives down here. But I wanted to introduce him because he's got some different projects and stuff going on in his life. And he's just a really cool guy. We hung out with him quite a bit. I've got to know him. He's one of our kind of people. He's in our circle.
Well, I feel like me and him got a little close on that.
Well, and also you took his money.
So
he was on the poker game as well. So anyway, without further ado, this is our boy, Jay Tizzle.
What up?
Tell me a little bit about you, man.
Well, what you see is what you get.
Oh, okay. Where are you originally from?
Canada. I'm from Kelowna, British Columbia. It's outside Vancouver.
Okay.
It's a small town, 3 hours outside Vancouver. It's fucking pretty far from here.
So what do you got going on in your life?
Yeah. Tell me what's going on, man.
I got a music project that I've been working on for fucking 2 years probably now.
Oh, what kind of making, man?
Hip hop, rap, R&B,
So
indie infused.
Okay.
Texas inspired, and then Canadian.
Sounds like mutt. It sounds like mutt music.
I'm a mutt.
So you've been working on this for about 2 years. About how longer do you think you're going to be working on it until you actually put it out?
pretty soon here. It's close to being done.
Okay,
Pretty
just
close.
figured out the producing stuff at the end on the backside.
All
of
the
everything.
finishing shit, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else going on in your life right now, man?
Driving up the coast. Driving up the West Coast. Was about to go up the East Coast. Came here, flew down here, fucking went to Austin. Went to a good show. A friend of my brother's that Mike knows.
Okay.
How I met Mike. She's a really good artist. Her name's Ruby Waters. She's fucking phenomenal. Indie music, Canadian girl.
Shout out to Ruby.
Yeah.
You're probably blocking your face, man. You're so pretty. I don't want the listeners to not see your face. Don't put your hand in
I
front
can't
of
stop
your
looking
face.
at him though.
I know. Well, he's pretty too.
Cut that.
That's what makes everybody else better is me. Because when
Talk
I'm
to me
in the room,
more.
you look even better.
Talk to me more.
Cut that.
Keep it rolling.
All right, let's go.
But no, like already go up the West Coast. You already went down the East Coast.
No, I just flew down here.
Okay.
Just flying, yeah.
So you're driving up the California one all the way up to Canada.
Yeah.
Man, that's a trip that I've always wanted to take, man.
Yeah.
I'm pretty envious of you.
Yeah, it's
Well,
a nice.
We don't have him, and obviously we don't have too many enough microphones. So way here, he is going to be rolling up the West Coast. Now, if it was me, I would just try to see how many beautiful West Coast ladies I could meet on the way up. But he does have some projects he's working on, and when they come out, we'll mention those as well on whatever platform they're on. But as of right now, we're going to get back to it. So JT, love you, bro, but piss off.
Hey, and good luck in all your endeavors, bro.
Thank you, boys.
Word.
Thank you.
So, getting back to the elections.
All right.
This was my 7th election to vote in.
Oh, okay.
I turned 18. My birthday, as we talked about before, was September 17th. So I turned 18 about 6 weeks before the 1996 voting.
Old head dating yourself a little.
Oh man, I'm telling you. But it was really cool because it maximized the number of elections that I get to vote in.
Okay.
You know, so that was pretty cool. There's something I could talk about on the way to that voting, but the thing that I really wanted to mention was of all the different presidents that we voted for and whatnot. I've got some pretty funny stories.
Okay.
The first being, well, not the first. We'll say it the second because I'm going to circle back to that other one, maybe on another podcast. But I was doing absentee voting. I don't remember exactly what year, but when I tell you who I voted for, everybody will be able to kind of figure it out. So I didn't like either of the candidates.
Well, that happens a lot.
Yeah. I didn't like either of the candidates, which is what we've been experiencing more
lot
frequently.
lately,
now, as I before. So what I did, I was doing an absentee ballot because I was deploying.
And for those that know, like an absentee ballot is where it's for mostly military, but out the ballot to you so you can vote early. So you'll get your ballot in like August, September.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna be in Iraq, so obviously can't go to a voting booth in Iraq.
Nope, not at all.
Actually, we were the ones that were guarding the voting booths whenever that we were trying to democratize Iraq. So I sent an absentee ballot, but I didn't like either of the candidates, so I wrote in a candidate. And at that time,
Who did you write in?
I wrote in Carlos Mencia.
The comedian?
So, and that's why I said when I tell you who it is, it'll make sense to you. So yeah, I wrote in Carlos Mencia because at that time he was really hot. And he was actually the very first person that I ever saw, very first big comedian I ever saw live.
Okay.
My ex-wife took me to his performance for my birthday. And it was super funny. I really liked him. And from what I understood, and of course you can prove it on this because I'm not sure, but what I was told at the time was he was originally an electrical engineer.
Oh, wow.
Before he got into comedy. Kind of like Dr. Kim. He was an actual doctor.
Yeah, he's a very smart individual.
Yeah. And then obviously what I had heard back in the day was Carlos Mencia was an electrical engineer before he started doing comedy.
Well, that's the thing about these comedians too, is that like they have all very, very smart and very intellectual people, so they actually know kind of what they can get away with, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, just to be able to put things together the way they do, not offend anybody, with the woke culture and everything.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit out of control, literally these days. A lot of people get offended by everything.
It's actually swinging back though. Like Joe Rogan, moved from L.A. to Austin, and he opened his own comedy club, and it was anti-woke culture.
Really? Well,
And he got
please
ridiculed.
elaborate. Yeah.
So they were like, "Really, you're anti-woke?" And he goes, "Yeah, they're jokes. That's what they are.
I mean,
they're anti-woke."
It's a joke. Like you got it. Literally, it's not to offend a certain person or like it's making fun of everybody. If you're going to make fun of these people, you should be able to make fun of these people.
Yeah, it's literally just a joke.
Yeah. I mean, like the days of the old comedians being able to make those jokes and get away with it, I feel like went away for a little bit. Like your Dave Chappelle's, your Carlos Mencia's.
Well, and the other big problem was it was okay to tell a certain joke at one point in time. And then now with the woke culture, it's no longer okay to tell that same joke. So then, like Kevin Hart, he made some joke about a dollhouse and his boy wouldn't be getting a dollhouse for Christmas or something like that.
Yeah.
And it offended the gay community. And 30 years later, when he did it in his original special, it killed. And then 30 years later, he had to issue an apology.
Oh yeah, and that's happening more and more these days.
Yeah. So, but anyway, earlier I meant to ask you about the campaign and elections and stuff, and what kind of stories you might have.
Like I was actually hoping you would ask that because I've got a pretty excellent story in my mind, at least. That I don't know if you'd be able to relate to it, but it's just like one of those my first aha moment in life. It's like holy crap.
Yeah.
So back in 2008, President Obama got elected for the first time, right?
Right.
I'm a registered independent. I didn't vote in either way. I think I probably wrote somebody's name in.
Yeah. Like when I did Mencia.
Nah. But my girlfriend at the time, she worked for Senator Dianne Feinstein out of California. If you don't know who Dianne Feinstein is, she was one of the big leaders of the Democratic Party, and she had a lot of sway. So working for her, she got special privileges, especially when it came to tickets for the first inauguration. So she asked me, he's like, "Oh, do you want to go?" Now, I don't know if you know how packed that inauguration was or if you even know the layout of Washington, D.C.
Not familiar, especially knowing that one since I was in Iraq in 08.
Ah. Okay, I get it. I got you. But the inauguration takes place on the Capitol steps, right?
Right.
And the crowd sometimes, goes back into the lawn and everything. But this crowd was huge. First black president and everything. It went from the Capitol steps, and I think it made it all the way to the Lincoln Memorial, which that went past the Washington Memorial, past the reflecting pool, Vietnam Wall, everything like that.
It's like half to or a quarter to a half mile or something.
It's
at least.
huge.
Yeah.
It is huge. And she's like, "You want a ticket?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So I'm expecting, I'm going to be back in the back watching the screens, whatever.
Nosebleeds.
So she's like, "Oh, me, I'm going to go with my cousin, and we're going to go over to this side, and we're going to be here for this. You're going to be over here." So I get my ticket. It tells me where to get off on the metro and everything. And I get off, and I walk up, and I'm going through all the security lines, getting patted down by Secret Service, freaking, President's 100, all these secret spy guys that you usually don't interact with. And I come around the corner, and I am right at the steps of the Capitol building. Not like at the bottom of the steps. Like you're up the first set of steps, and right there's the little overhang where he gives the speech. And I am literally 50 to 75 feet from President Obama.
So a half mile of crowd, and you're spitting distance.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Wow. And like to give you, like she wasn't with me, and I got pictures. I'm going to throw them up. She was on the other side, so you can't see her. You can see me, barely see me. You could tell it's my structure in my eyes because I was freezing my butt off. I had like a scarf on and a hat and everything. But to tell you where I was at, like it was magnificent because I look over the way and there's maybe 25, 40 feet from me, Denzel Washington, Beyonce, Jay-Z.
Could you see Obama in the pictures that you were in? Or
Yeah. There's a
now that's bigger than Beyonce and Jay-Z or whoever.
Like,
If you see you in the picture with the president,
so what I want to do,
amazing.
What I want to do is like I'm going to show the actual picture where as it's standing there. I'm going to circle myself. Then I'll zoom in so prove that it's actually me.
Yeah. I want proof. I want to see Obama in the picture with you.
But like, it was one of those moments. It's like, holy crap! Like I would never thought I would be doing something like this in my life. I would be here at something like this in my life. Just looking back at this roaring crowd of people all over the place.
I mean, it's literally historical.
Oh yeah. And when I say roaring, they're screaming, they're cheering, and this is all the way down. I'm just like, holy crap. And
That energy must have been nuts.
And people were asking me, how did you get tickets? And they're like, oh, I'm a big supporter of them. I supported the campaign and gave so much money. I'm like, oh, well.
You're like, I give good head.
But, another part of that was, afterwards, I was able to get closer. And I don't have the pictures anymore, sadly, because I was on a phone. I did get closer pictures of those famous stars and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
But a newspaper reporter came up and started talking to me, and I probably could find the article somewhere, but it's going to be hard to find. It's like, he asked me, what do you think of this? And I'm just like, it's hard to take in. I'm actually speechless. Like, this is amazing. It's great. And then, in the newspaper article, it'd be like, oh, Mr. McKenna said this is blah, blah, blah.
Well, actually, I'm pretty familiar with that because when I was in Iraq the first time, there was a newspaper article done on me. But we can save that for a whole nother podcast because I can go on and on about that goofy stuff.
I know, but man, that moment, that's why we do this podcast, because we have stories like this, man. Little old me from Ohio is sitting at one of the biggest inaugurations ever.
Yeah, literally historical, first in history ever.
Yeah,
Black president.
And and I have proof of it.
Yep, that's what it's all about.
I love that, man.
Yep. Now, I mentioned that you had your little 15 seconds, minutes.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
glimpse of fame.
Yes.
During that election process or whatever. So I've got a couple little 15 minutes of fame, 5 seconds or whatever.
Okay.
One of which actually relates to elections. So I know I forget what was said earlier, but about the Obama election.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Obama election. So my second tour in Iraq was 2007, 2008.
Okay.
I went to Camp Bucca, Iraq.
Okay, Camp Bucca.
Yeah, the largest prison facility in the world at the time.
Okay.
Which I think they did away with it.
Infamous camp, we should call it.
Oh, yeah.
If you were ever in the military around that point, you know about Camp Bucca.
Yeah, Camp Bucca. It was known for the Bucca girls. You could look that up on YouTube and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, it was an election year. And it just so happens the largest prison facility in the world was actually being run by the same unit that ran Abu.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Another infamous place.
During an election year. Okay. So John McCain actually came to Camp Bucca.
Okay.
Now, the funniest thing, when I saw McCain, so I was extra security for him.
Yeah.
Right? Which was nothing. There was like all these, CIA, secret squirrels, Secret Service and stuff.
Basically saying you're not anything. This is our show, boy.
They were all around him and stuff. But it was a detail, and the way the facility, there's, I don't know, like 20-foot tall fences with concertina wire, and we had 33 or 36. I don't remember how many different sections in the facility. So he came through, and there was this one little area where detainees could go and do like arts and crafts and stuff. And I was working that area the day he came, and my job was basically to stand in front of this fence and make sure none of the detainees did stupid while John McCain and his entourage walked behind me. So it wasn't like I was walking around with him going, sitting in. No, I just stood in front of a fence with a bunch of dirty detainees, and he walked behind me. The funny thing was, he took his suit coat off, and anybody who's a Simpsons fan,
Oh God.
dude, he was so old and withered away. He looked like Smithers from The Simpsons. and dude, I voted for McCain. I mean, he's POW. He's a rock star. He's a veteran, combat veteran. So much love. But yeah, he looked like Smithers. But so my other 15 minutes of fame was I multiple times in it. I was in martial arts and MMA and stuff. So I used to corner for a pro fighter. His name's Wayne Cole. He wrestled at OU. He's a bad mother scratcher, and he was. I believe it was Bellator before Bellator got big.
Okay.
But
Frank, right?
Frank.
Frank Bellator.
No, Frank, Bellator, the fighting syndicate. So, no, it wasn't Bellator. It was another fighting syndicate up in northeastern Oklahoma. It was like Potawatomi Boxing Commission, I think it was who it was through. So anyway, I was cornering for him, and my friend Ronnie that we've talked about, he was actually being his cut man, and we walked him to the center of the ring to, get the rules and shake hands and blah, blah, blah. And that's on YouTube because he was a pro fighter. He had several fights. He's passed since, R.I.P. Wayne Cole. But for maybe 10 or 15 seconds, you see me super young walking behind him up to touch gloves. He was fighting David Heath.
Okay.
So if you were to go on YouTube and look up Wayne versus David Heath, beginning, you'll see me on the walk up, and then during the fight, you'll hear me yelling, body head, because they're on the ground because Wayne's a wrestler and he took him to the ground. So those are my couple of times. One is on video, one is not, where I was involved to some degree with a famous person.
Well, I felt, going off a famous person, I've met several famous people in my life. But at the inauguration, I felt really, really, what's the word, honored, because here I am up here on this stage, and you'll see from the picture and everything. But I'll also throw in some other circles on that photo because there's Denzel Washington, Beyonce, Jay-Z, that you can clearly see in the crowd. Yeah. And the only other, you talk about John McCain on your deployment, you guys see. Well, I was at a British hospital on my deployment. And I was Prince Harry, I think it was on the same base as he was flying, he was one of the helicopter pilots, I believe. He was actually deployed there. Well, his mom, the princess, came. And I remember to this day, the officer that was in charge of my area of the hospital, she said, "No American will shake hands with the princess. No American will touch her."
What are we, dogs?
I have no clue. But
we again, election day, I'm pretty sure we defeated them to gain our independence.
I mean, two-time World War champions, one-time independence champions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were the ones picking up the phone calling us for help.
But I will remember that. They didn't even want us in the hallways or anything.
Wow.
I got a glimpse of her, and she was older.
Yeah.
But they was no, they don't want Americans touching her, shaking her hand, speaking with her, anything like that. It was just okay, why am I even here?
Wow. I've had a couple of run-ins with some famous people.
Yeah.
There was once in Iraq, actually, on my second tour, and once in Vegas. But
We can save this for later too.
I was
for
going to
another
say,
podcast.
that would be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I did want to do, let me grab a glass of water because my mouth is getting dry.
All right, I'm guessing that has to do with the second part of this podcast's name.
Well, I always try to wear something that relates to the podcast.
I've been wondering.
So you notice my Newsboys hat. So in for the sake of camaraderie amongst our other countries, this was actually purchased from a girlfriend of mine. Purchased it in Paris, but it's an Italian news.
Oh, fancy,
Fancy.
are we?
My girlfriend's Mexican, actually.
Hey.
So look, I'm cultured.
I mean,
but
you went down the same road I went down for a
if you
little
look
bit.
at this shirt,
Okay.
it looks a lot like what the signs that you stick in the yard for the candidates, right?
Yeah.
However, it has absolutely nothing to do with politics or elections. This for the podcast, I kind of think, at least for us right now, and the basis of our podcast, we're not trying to talk about politics and religion, that sort of thing. Kind of like a first date. You know, you never talk about politics and religion on a first date. That's a surefire way.
Oh, you don't talk about having babies. And
Yeah, none of that. Tank it. You'll tank the date. Yeah. So if a girl tries to go down that road, I always steer clear of it because it's not going to go anywhere. And of course, you know, I've
that's
got
like a third or a fourth date. You know, I know you a little bit already.
oh man, 30th or 40th. Oh, so
Anniversary.
so what this is? It's a swag T-shirt that I bought from one of my favorite comedians, Jim Jeffries.
Okay.
So Jim Jeffries is actually Australian, and Jim Jeffries has some pretty solid opinions about America and the Second Amendment and things like that. He's got a whole stand-up, I believe, on Netflix about the Second Amendment. And you know what? Much respect. It's hilarious. Love the guy. I've seen him a couple of times in person. But the shirt is from one of his bits. So, and I love it for this podcast. Number one, it looks, you know, obviously it looks like election signs, but also it's related to holiday. And we're in the holiday season now. It's November,
Yes.
right?
I mean, Mariah Carey's playing on almost every radio
Oh,
station.
gosh,
Please help me.
So hot. So he talks about this bit he talks about is about holidays and stuff, but he gets into Mother's Day and Father's Day, right?
Uh-huh.
And how, you know, on Mother's Day, everybody buys women, you know, this, that, and the other from their kids. And I'm not going to ruin his bit.
Oh, I know where it's going already.
But on Father's Day, you know,
Oh, go do something with the kids.
yeah, or you get another pair of socks. So
A nice
he
tie.
said, we should have a random day for men. It's a holiday just for men because Mother's Day is basically just for women. Valentine's Day, which is essentially just for women.
Well, they also have so you got Mother's Day and International Women's Day.
All right. I mean, where's the men's day? So Jim Jeffries talks about, what if we just had a day for men?
I can agree with that.
And on that day, some random day, your woman gives you anal.
What?
Now, it gets better.
I gotta watch this bit.
It gets better. And he said, on top of that, we'll make T-shirts. Okay? And all we'll put on the T-shirt is April 18th, the random day, the holiday for men.
Oh my Lord.
And he says, now I'm totally stealing his steps.
Oh, I'm dead.
My buddy DB says you're stealing my steps if you're telling his jokes or whatever. So I'm stealing his steps, and I'm promoting him. Jim Jeffries, go see him. He's great. He talks tons of shit about America, and I still love him, but obviously he's here still. Just like our friend JT, dual citizenship. So anyway, so he says, what if you're in a bar and you're sitting there, having a cocktail, right? And somebody walks up. No. You're sitting there and somebody walks up with a T-shirt. Guy walks up and you see him. He's got the T-shirt and you see it and and he knows what April 18th is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The holiday for men. And you raise your glass and you guys smile and nod because you both know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
But even better, what if a girl walks in wearing the April 18th T-shirt?
And she knows?
Well, obviously she knows. She's wearing the shirt, baby.
It could be her dude's shirt, bro.
It's the respect you have and the honor you have for that girl, that she's honoring the man's holiday of April 18th. You're going to have to buy her a drink because clearly she knows. And whether she has a man or not, you're going to celebrate her. So I know I talked a little bit at the beginning about politics and whatnot, but I just want to kind of circle back. We got to a point where we're taking ourselves way too seriously in America, and everybody was victimizing other people that didn't even feel victimized. And now the pendulum's swinging back. I love stand-up comedy. I love comedians and how they help with the pivoting in politics and whatnot. They were really attacked for a long time. There's a lot of comedians that got attacked where the bar for what you could do or say was here, and then 20 years later we moved the bar, and then we attacked people from 20 years ago when the culture was completely different. So a little serious note on that. So this is to lighten it back up. And I just, when I was thinking about the podcast to do today, and for those that don't know, I came up with this podcast a couple of hours ago.
Yeah.
Everything is very authentic and genuine, and we don't prepare anything. We just have a couple of notes in our head. But I wanted to just circle it back around and, lighten it up, and the whole woke culture, how it's kind of sliding back. The pendulum swung way, way hard, and there's definitely some big problems that we had in America that need to be corrected. And I'm glad that there was outreach and expression, and our rights, First Amendment rights, especially. And now the pendulum, but then swung so far, and we had the woke culture and all the Karens and crap, and now it's kind of swinging back. So I just kind of wanted to, make light a little bit, because it made me think we're going to talk about the election since it's election night, that this shirt looked just like one of those signs, and it's just such a funny thing. And that's what we should really be focused on.
Oh, yeah.
Is just being happy, having a good time, everybody loving everybody, and let's rock out and party and have fun.
Well, I feel like it's getting back to, it is swinging back to like the old days. Like you're talking about comedians. One of my favorite comedians was Chappelle. And he was ridiculed and canceled there for a while because of that pendulum swing. I mean, from the start, his stuff was pretty racy, but he was making fun of all races.
Yep.
Yeah, including his own. But it really, really, comedians, I have mad respect for comedians.
Yeah, kind of like that the saying that everybody, well, I used to hear it all the time, and I used to say it all the time. I'm not racist. I hate everybody the same. So, yeah.
But, I am happy that things seem to be going the right direction, and we're going to hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of the last thing that I would touch on is, technically, if you look at the platform that I would follow as far as my political views, I'd be a libertarian. But the reason that I don't vote Libertarian typically is because there's not enough votes towards Libertarian to matter. So I feel like I would just be throwing my vote in the trash, and it's not actually going to matter. So I cast it towards one of the bipartisan parties, and I'm telling you right now, I've voted both parties this year, and I think the bipartisan party is crap. I love the Libertarian because it's just doing what's right for the people. And whether you're in a friendship or a relationship, a romantic relationship or whatever, you have to grow in that relationship. And our country needs to grow in its relationship with the people and adapt. And the bipartisan party, in my opinion, it needs to go out the window.
Oh,
and
100% agree.
I would love to just, if you were voting for your student council or whatever in high school, there's not two parties. You just vote for the best person.
This is what I gotta say. Like I said, I'm from Ohio, a swing state. When I said I'm an independent, I am registered as an independent. I don't get a vote in the freaking primary elections for each political party. I don't get a vote in that.
Yeah.
Like, I am a registered independent voter. That way I can swing my mind whichever way I want towards whichever party I want. Yeah. I agree with some of the stuff this party does. I agree with some of the stuff this party does.
Exactly. I used to call myself, before the Libertarian Party started, I called myself a reformed Republican.
But going off what you said, 100%, I've been saying it for years that I believe that political parties just need to disband, and we bring up the best of whoever we have, because I know that it's getting a little serious, but you can't have, we're just going to have Republicans running the House, the Senate, and the presidency, or vice versa with the Democrats, because it's party lines just blur everything, and you're not doing what's best for our country.
Yeah, and last thing, that's why it's supposed to be for the people, by the people.
Yes, sir.
But if you like what you see,
please hit that subscribe, share, and like it.
Yep.
And we'll see you next time on Prove It.
Absolutely.